Welcome to the Andy Staples Show. Happy Friday. Happy Super Bowl weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. Why? Because you're getting thrust into the weekend with Ari Wasserman and lots to talk about with Ari and a couple of his favorite topics. One, the importance of recruiting, and we'll talk about that relative to the Auburn job. Two, where people like to live. Ari is fascinated by this topic, and people get really mad at him about it. Ari,
and there's
back.
a third, I think, Andy. Are we talking about Buffalo Wings?
We are talking about wings. That's exactly right. I made a public service announcement for everybody who's getting ready for the Super Bowl. We'll run that because I want to make sure all of you are adequately prepared for the Super Bowl and that you're enjoying it as much as possible. But yeah, let's get started with Auburn. Now, we are recording this Thursday afternoon. At this point, we don't know much more than Bryan Harsin showed up at the SEC coaches meeting in Birmingham. Our friend Alex Scarborough from ESPN took a picture of the back of his head. He went in a back door. Lane Kiffin went in a back door. The other 12 coaches went through the front door. That's what we know.
Why didn't Brian Kelly show up on a horse?
He should have. Or just with that little turntable thing that they take the TikTok videos on. Like, that would be awesome. He can do a TikTok video with Greg Sankey.
That he's truly Southern.
So
if he were to show up at the SEC media days and proven that he's truly a Southern boy, what would be the perfect automobile to show up in? A truck?
F-150.
Yeah,
an F-150 with mud all over it, of course. No, not on a horse. Like, I think the problem with the accent before was he was trying to sound like Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained. Like, that, we can't have that. That is not an actual Southern accent that anybody recognizes. So no, yeah, just show up in a muddy 15-year-old F-150, and I think your bona fides are set there. So
yeah.
I don't. Well, he's a little bit older, so maybe he goes the platinum F-150 that is nice and clean, because that is a Southern gentleman of his age. That's what they're whipping right now.
My buddy has a King Ranch, and I knew nothing about trucks before I moved to Texas.
King Ranch
that thing is luxurious. Yeah.
Oh,
it's nice.
The leather on the seats of the King Ranch. Whew, you probably will just sit there smelling them instead of actually doing anything. But it is pretty.
I never knew I wanted a truck until I met you and found out that you're a Raptor guy, and then also.
I think we've lost Ari. I think Ari fell into the transfer portal. Ari has relocated. He's back. He's come out of the transfer portal. Ari, you were discussing pickup trucks, which, by the way, Ralph Russo and I recorded the Tuesday episode in a pickup truck. So this is, if you're listening out there, and look, I drive a Ford, so it's a natural fit. If you're listening in Dearborn, we could use a sponsorship.
I never thought I wanted a truck until I found out that you're a Raptor person, and then I went and looked into Raptors. And then the other thing was I watched Yellowstone. now I don't know if it's like you're supposed to want a truck because it can haul things and because it's 4-wheel drive and it can, get through off terrain. I just like the luxurious nature of the Kevin Costner truck. And I went to a cowboy convention, which is a discussion I think for another day, but I went to a cowboy convention in Dallas.
Why is there no video of this?
I was by far the most out of place person in that entire convention, but they had an area of that convention where they had a Yellowstone truck exhibit where they had the actual models and makes and
mostly Dodges on Yellowstone and mostly dualies because they got to pull the big horse trailers and cattle trailers. So
those did some
big old trucks.
They did a tremendous job of product placement in those shows, but the trucks, they had the stickers, you could buy them, and you could even get it with the Yellowstone decal, which I think is a step too far, but they were $150,000. So like they are like the nicest of nice trucks a human being can have.
Yeah, I think most of the people using those types of trucks, they're writing them off as a business expense because they actually have a farm or a ranch and they need them to pull things. So that's Probably not what you're aiming for. I've seen your driveway. I don't even think you could fit one. But if you do get one of those, you have to put the Yellowstone Dutton
Yeah.
logo on it.
Yeah, if my fiance wishes I was Rip, I'll tell you that. And I am the exact opposite of Rip in every possible way.
Go watch Dazed and Confused and see Rip with his actual hair.
Go watch
It,
The
it will
Breakup.
blow your mind.
So I'm having a major dilemma with my car shopping right now, and we can get into that at the end of the show. We can get into that now.
We're gonna do it now. What the heck?
Okay.
We don't know what's going on with Bryan Harsin, so we can get into it now.
Okay. So I want to buy a SUV. Okay.
Mhm.
And Britt is convinced that I have to have one because we have a baby now, and
Absolutely.
we might be extending our family in the future, and it's important to have a 4-door SUV. So I was looking at the new Jeep Grand Cherokees because I really like the new body
They're
style,
very
the
nice.
two-row.
I've rented some of those. They're very nice.
The sticker on those, they start at 48, and the ones that are cheap with the cloth seats and the 2-wheel drive, and they're 48. And if you want to get one that's got leather seats and the sunroof that you like and all that, it gets up to 60,000 bucks. And I'm like, am I really going to want to spend 60 grand on a Jeep Grand Cherokee? Probably not. So then I start looking at other things. I looked at used Chevy Tahoes. And granted, I understand that we're in a really bad time to buy a car right now.
Weird supply chain issues. Very hard to find gently used cars.
So I looked at Tahoes. If you want one from 2018 with 50,000 miles on it, you can get one under 50. But that's $100,000 car brand new, and anywhere between 60 and 90, depending on which used one you want. So I've found that there's a major gap. There's either you can get a really cool car that's expensive that you like, that's manly, which is important to me, or you can drive a Ford Edge. Like there's no middle tier $50,000 SUV that like I would personally want. So it's like I'm finding myself gravitating toward very expensive cars because I don't want to spend $55,000 on a used Ford Explorer. But then at the same time, I feel like an asshole for trying to get really expensive cars as a sports writer. And then I go all the way down into like the 30s. And now you're talking about like the smallest of small SUVs. So I'm in a weird place where I want to buy a car. I have some money to buy a car, but I don't know what to get. And it has to be an SUV, and it's been mandated by my fiance.
I will tell you, and I don't think this will help you completely decide, but this should help you narrow it down. Get something that you're not going to hate in 2 or 3 years. Get something that you will keep until you have paid it off, and hopefully beyond when you have paid it off. Like that's the beauty. We had a 2007 Honda Pilot that was the greatest thing ever. It was fantastic. We had that thing for 11 years. So paid it off, kept on driving it. I'm sure someone owns it right now and loves it. It was a great vehicle.
You check the prices of Honda Pilots lately?
Oh, I know how much they cost. I had a 2016 before I traded in on the
and it's a feminine car. No offense.
I'm not worried about that. You're worried about that.
I'm worried about that. I just want to have a cool car. The Dallas social scene. I want to look, cool.
You make it cool. It doesn't make you cool. That's the thing.
And my mother-in-law drives a Lexus RX, which I think you can get a pretty good deal on if you find the right one. I've always been a buy a car used person because I don't like taking the depreciation hit. But now that the used prices are out of whack, it don't actually make sense to buy a new car for the first time in human history. But I feel like that's a mom car. Like I'm a dad, but I don't want to be.
You want to look cool?
I want to look cool. I want to be cool. I want a Raptor. I want something cool. You
get a pickup. You don't have to get a Raptor. You can get a pickup truck that has a crew cab, and the back seat is very comfortable, and the baby's very safe in the back seat of that. And if your family expands, you can put 3 kids in the back seat.
What truck am I going to get for less than $60,000 that has a crew cab and isn't a Ranger?
You can probably get a used crew cab, either F-150 Silverado, Ram, for less than that with the leather seats if it's used.
Yeah, and then it has 50,000 miles on it, and it's just like
but it's gonna run for 300,000 miles.
I don't know. I saw a used Porsche Cayenne for 64 with
No.
30,000 miles on it, and I'm thinking to myself, would I rather have a Porsche or would I rather have an F-150?
Well, if you want to have one, you need to learn to pronounce the name of the brand. It's
Porsche.
Porsche. There you go.
Porsche.
So well, if you want to look cool, I mean, you stepping out of that F-150, like you stepping on that running board and coming off,
Yeah.
you're gonna feel like Rip.
I'm pretty clumsy. Could you imagine
Brit's
me?
gonna be your Beth Dutton.
That would be funny. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll look into trucks. You can help me find a listing of a reasonable.
Also, you own a house now. There are things you're gonna have to do at your house. That truck will come in handy. Like there will be large things you want to buy, and you're like, oh, I'll go pick it up.
You've
Like,
met me. I just don't know if I can pull the truck off.
You definitely can. Like my brother-in-law is about to buy a new grill. He's got an SUV. I'm gonna get that phone call one day. Hey, can you come get this thing for me? Well, yeah, I can, because I got a truck. So
Okay. Well, after the show's over, send me listings, and I don't want to buy a 2016 with 48,000 miles on it.
all
for
right, we will work on it. I do realize that the pickup truck costs have gotten pretty high. So
they're very expensive.
It's gonna be hard. We'll have to find a good deal, but we will try. We will try. Now, what kind of pickup truck do you think being the head coach at Auburn gets you? Like, what's the deal? Because they always have the dealer cars. You think that's a King Ranch situation?
Yeah. I mean, if you're making that kind of money, you should just get it anyway.
Now, do we still think that Bryan Harsin is going to have to turn his in? Because he went to the SEC coaches meeting on Thursday. And I remember I was talking to somebody on Wednesday, and they were like, well, you can't go to the meeting. I'm like, why not? Why can't he go to the meeting? What does it matter if he goes to the meeting? What matters is if he's still the coach by spring practice. Right. And that seems to be the issue here is I don't know how you continue if you're Bryan Harsin. Now, obviously, if they don't try to fire you, if they say, well, we're going to keep you, then you're going to keep coaching. But they've essentially kneecapped you. So the best situation for everyone involved here is they write him a check and he goes and does whatever he does with it, and they go find a different coach. Because I'm convinced, Starry, that this really comes down to recruiting. They're doing this investigation. They're trying to find stuff. I think it's to lure or eliminate the buyout. But I'm convinced this comes down to recruiting. Because do you know what the top ranked player in Auburn's class, do you know where he would have ranked in Alabama's class?
Can I just make a flat out guess?
Yes.
How many signees did Bama have? Like 26?
Something like that.
I would say 17.
He would have been number 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what the problem is. That is the root problem is, and the more I think about it, the more I think I know why this went down. Now, obviously, we can go back to last year. They fire Gus Malzahn. You don't really know who's in charge. You have the group that tried to install Kevin Steele right away, and they get rebuffed. And so they go on a search, and Billy Napier doesn't want it, and Brent Venables doesn't want it. But Bryan Harsin did kind of tickle the fancy of a certain kind of Auburn person, and it's the certain kind of Auburn people who make a lot of the decisions there, where a lot of the guys there that played for Pat Dye, they embrace the tough, gritty, we had 3-a-day practices, all that stuff. And so that probably appealed to them. But the problem is that type of person doesn't necessarily work in the modern SEC if they aren't also getting elite talent. Nick Saban coaches people hard. Kirby Smart coaches people hard. Jimbo Fisher coaches people hard, but they recruit elite talent. And that's the difference. If Bryan Harsin went in there thinking he was going to out-grit people, and given what he signed, that certainly seems to be what he thought, I don't know how you go on.
First of all, the thing I'm going to say, and you will agree with, is that anything that you can put after the statement, but you need to get good players, is true. Like, you need to get good players is step one, no matter what your strategy is. And I do find it funny that there is a sect of people, and in some, maybe even in coaching, that believes that you can out-grit people, as if the teams that are accumulating NFL draft pick caliber players out of high school also aren't working very hard.
Right. You absolutely can out-grit people if your talent is close to equal. You can have
Right.
less talent and outgrit somebody,
Right.
but you can't have dramatically less talent and outgrit
And
somebody.
I think the
Not over
idea
and
of
over again.
outgritting somebody too is probably more conducive to beating them in a one-game thing rather than the
Right.
foundation of your program.
Right.
It's like I don't think you can outgrit somebody into a top 10 program.
And the problem for Auburn is, and this is the same problem for any school in the SEC West, is because you have to play all of these teams, but especially for Auburn, because not only do you have to play Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M every year, you also have to play Georgia every year. The one game, so you might be able to win one of those games doing this. You will not be able to win all four, and you probably won't be able to get to win two.
Yeah, and it just goes back to the same discussion that we always have about coaching candidates. It's like, to me, like Oregon, for instance, what do we think about Dan Lanning at Oregon right now? And it's very early on, but he has a very good reputation. It's like, if you're going to be the head coach at Auburn, or you're hiring the head coach at Auburn, do you want to get somebody who has shown in the past that they can recruit under-evaluated guys and find the diamonds in the rough and develop them? Or if you're Auburn's head coach, do you want to go find the guy that was a part of Georgia's staff for 4 or 5
I
years?
want Cam Newton again. That's what I want.
And then do you think that the person who was coaching Boise State, it doesn't even matter if it was Harsin or not, is the right person to get you Cam Newton? Or is it the guy that coached at Georgia under Kirby Smart for 5 years?
Right, exactly. And look, that's what they went for. They went for that with Billy Napier, who had worked for Nick Saban. They went for that with Brent Venables, who was working with who had worked for Bob Stoops and who had worked for Dabo Swinney. They went for that. They didn't get it. But you're exactly right. That is what they have to do. It's the same thing I wrote when Florida was open, and I said, you need to think, what is Kirby Smart doing right now? How do I find someone who will look at what Kirby Smart is doing right now and try to do that or better? Like, whoever Auburn hires, and I do think they're still going to have to make a hire. I realize that as we record this, Harsin is still in office, but I don't think that lasts too long. They have to go, what is Nick Saban doing right now? What is Kirby Smart doing right now? Who can we hire who will try to do the same things they do?
Yeah. And I actually have to make an admission here. Like, when Florida hired Billy Napier, I was a little concerned because it kind of gave me the same feeling. And obviously, Billy Napier's past and working under some very legendary head coaches helps that dynamic. But I thought Florida is complaining and upset with the way things were going in recruiting with Dan Mullen. And then you went and got a guy out of the group of 5. I'm a little bit nervous about that. And then he has been awesome so far.
Well, and that's when he was a Power 5 assistant, he could recruit like that. And so I think that's what matters. And actually, when he was the head coach at Louisiana, he had the biggest staff because he convinced the administration to let him hire the biggest staff. And they had better talent usually than the teams they were playing, because it's all, sort of levels. And if you have better talent than Coastal Carolina or Appalachian State, then that's good. That means you're probably going to win that league.
I don't know if we came up with a thesis here. You tell me if you agree.
Okay.
If you are a powerhouse SEC program, or any program for that matter, that expects to compete for a national championship, and you want to hire a new coach, and you decide that coaching candidate is a group of 5 head coach at the moment, does that group of 5 head coach absolutely have to have assistant coaching experience at another powerhouse within the previous 5 years? Because when you go look at Bryan Harsin's resume, I think he has 1 year of his entire coaching career dating back to 2000, where he spent time at a Power 5 program out of the last 20 years. So you look at Billy Napier's resume and you think, well, he was a pretty high-ranking assistant at some major programs. And then you look at Bryan Harsin, and it's like, this guy's only really coached at a different level.
Time at Texas, yeah.
Yeah, the 1 year at Texas, it's not the same qualifications for the job for the two people.
Well, so what I would do, because I don't want to completely exclude group of 5 head coaches. Like Jamie Chadwell is an interesting example because he's never been an assistant at the Power 5 level, and I think that's what's kept him down. Are you going to
hand him a job at a program that expects to win a national championship next year?
Well, and that's why he hasn't gotten one, because they're looking at that and they say, well, you've succeeded in Division II, you've succeeded in FCS, you've succeeded at the Group of Five, but we have no idea if you or your staff can recruit at this level because none of you have. And I think that's why, despite his success at Coastal Carolina, these big jobs in the South, he's not really been able to get a lot of traction for. I don't want to exclude those guys, but here's the thing you have to figure out. If it's someone who has not been an assistant at that level, will they be as maniacal as Nick Saban, as Dabo Swinney, as Kirby Smart on the recruiting trail? And that you can figure out from what they've done in the past. You can watch how they work. You can talk to people who've worked with them. Are they going to every high school they can go to? Are they establishing every relationship? Are they shooting for the moon in recruiting, trying to get guys that they should have no business getting, and almost talking, at least talking them into thinking about it? Like, that's the kind of person who has a chance. It's much better if you've had experience recruiting at that level and you can say, look, I recruited this guy here. I got this guy to sign here. I can go into a 5-star's house and I know what they are looking for and what they need to hear.
Maniacal is a really good way of putting it. I think if a person gets it very quickly, I think.
Mario Cristobal is a maniacal recruiter. Like, I know that Miami will have really good players because he is a maniacal recruiter.
But is it enough, or do you also have to have, like, Mario Cristobal's past as an assistant at a pretty good program, if you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That also plays into a fact.
I would argue that Mario Cristobal was as maniacal a recruiter when he was the head coach at FIU before he ever worked for Nick Saban. But the wider world didn't know that until after he worked for Nick Saban.
But it's all about qualifications. Let's just kind of compare this to working at Costco. You get a job when you're 18, you work at Costco, you are a person who stocks shelves. Then you get a raise and a promotion, and then all of a sudden you're a bag person, right? Then you get the next raise, and you're a cashier. Then the next raise, floor manager, or however the next raise. You don't go from bag boy to store manager. You don't step over 3 or 4 spots. And even if that bag boy had a maniacal,
you do in the NFL if your fellow bag boy was Sean McVay. But yes, everybody else is in college is a different.
And
story.
If in college, the bag boy might be very passionate about making sure and understanding how the store can do things to capitalize its sales, but you still have to do steps in between to prove you can do it. So for me, I would be a maniacal recruiter, I think, but I would have to go through years and years of experience in order to be a qualified head coach. So I think that there is something to the idea of possessing that trait first and foremost. And the Cristobal point that you made about being maniacal at FIU is a good one. But also, Lord knows how much that man learned from Nick Saban in the year or whatever he was there. And then
he certainly learned a lot about infrastructure.
And then the other thing too,
that's what he asked for when he got the Oregon head coaching job, is I want their infrastructure.
And I don't know if I'm going to be the breaker of news here, but you also have to have experience recruiting the type of kid. Like, the recruiting experience isn't just, well, he was a great recruiter at Group of 5 school X, so he's definitely going to be a good recruiting the best 2 or 3-star players that you can find is a very different experience than recruiting a 5-star to your school. There's more people involved, there's more handlers, there's more mess, there's more expectations, there's more stakes, like everything that is involved with it. It's just a higher level. It's like saying somebody can hit a fastball in single A and then all of a sudden they're going to be the best hitter in the major leagues. You know, maybe they will one day, but I still think they need to progress through the minors before they
need to show you they can hit a curve and a slider. And here's the other part to that. If a coach comes in there and says, well, we don't need that kind of player. If you're Auburn, interview's over. Walk out. Like, you do need that kind of player.
I know, but is this a surprise to anybody?
Apparently it's a surprise to the people at Auburn who hired Bryan Harsin.
When Harsin got hired, I was in Vegas. We did a podcast. We talked about what he needed to do at Auburn to succeed. I remember this specifically. I was very hungover. And we were discussing that he could have an element to his program that illustrated the traits of grit and illustrated, the ability to find underappreciated talents. But the main tenet of his success at Auburn was always going to be his ability to sign players that Alabama wants, to sign players that LSU wants, Florida wants, Clemson wants, Ohio State wants. And he did not do that a single time in an entire class.
No, and that's the problem. That's not changing. Like, he can't come back now and say, well, I realize I made a mistake. It's too late. We already know you don't even know how to do it. Like, you wouldn't even know where to start.
What's the mistake? The mistake was made by the administration, not by the coach.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
Not by Brian. Bryan Harsin did exactly probably what he told them he was going to do. And it's not going to work.
And go look at what Billy Napier is doing, because we're making a comparison to first-year head coaches at programs that have won and expect to compete at some point for a national championship. Napier accomplished more in a month and a half, not just landing players, but getting Florida involved in the types of players they've been starving to be involved with in a 6-week period than Harsin did an entire year.
Yeah. And we'll see if that's the difference, because everybody keeps saying, well, that means Florida's going to be great. No, it means Florida has paid the price of admission now.
That's right.
It doesn't mean you're going to succeed. It just, like, Will Muschamp got Florida in on great players and signed great players, but they still didn't win. So that's the price of admission. Then you also have to be a great coach.
Yeah, it's like moving to New York. Some people just don't have the guts to do it, but once you get there, you still have to make it, and maybe that's a terrible analogy, and I try too hard.
Oh, no, it's a great analogy, because it moves us into the next topic we need to talk about, which is you versus the state of Oklahoma. This was some of the most fun I had all week, was watching you spar with the residents of Oklahoma. And this came from, I believe it came from the Lincoln Riley interview with Colin Cowherd. And everybody was up in arms because Lincoln Riley has become the ultimate villain in college football, which I say lean into the heel turn. Be the heel. Be Bobby the Brain Heenan of college football. I don't think Lincoln Riley's going to try to do that. I think he should. I think he should be like, well, I left because I didn't want to live in the dust anymore. I wanted to live by the beach. Like, he should cut promos. And you tweeted very sarcastically, I personally would never imagine leaving Norman, Oklahoma for Southern California. Quite sarcastically.
Do you want to know where it came from?
Sure.
Oklahoma's governor gave a state of address.
That's right.
Can you imagine leaving a place like Norman, Oklahoma for a place like
I almost
Southern
said Bob
California?
Stitt, who is a football coach. Stitt is the last name.
Bob Stitt. Yeah, Bob Stitt.
Yeah.
And I was just joking, because it was just like, I understand that when you're a person who lives in Oklahoma or is holding public office in Oklahoma.
Also, do you know who imagined people leaving Oklahoma for California? John Steinbeck. Very famously. The Grapes of Wrath. Like,
I didn't even think of that.
Yes.
I should have hit them with some classic literature on Twitter. Here's the problem that I have. I've got a ton of problems. You know this about me, but
yes.
One, I was just making a joke and poking fun at the governor. I wasn't poking fun at people in Oklahoma or people who live in Oklahoma or have civic pride. I understand if it's your home, you love it there. I think Oklahoma City is a very underrated town. People just don't appreciate if you just call it like the skid mark of America. Right. I get that. All I said was, I cannot imagine leaving Norman, Oklahoma for Southern California as if like Southern California doesn't trump every other city in America. And then people lost their minds. And then people were tweeting at me like crazy stuff, like I would never want to live in Southern California, or how could you possibly think that? You're a moron. And then I get pulled into these debates with people about things that are just like water is wet. And I don't even know why I do it. It's like, it's addicting. It's like, if you polled 1,000 people and you said, would you rather live in Norman, Oklahoma or Southern California? How many people would 990 out of 1,000? It's like, it's It's
But
one of the most beautiful places in the world. Like, what are we talking about?
the vocal minority is the one who's going to respond to you on social media. So you need to
I
understand
lose
that.
my mind. I lose my
But
mind. I can't.
I say this as someone who I like the little tiny college town I live in. Like I would prefer living where I live to living in Southern California.
Well,
Like, I
here's the
would
thing
rather
about
live
the
here than
statement.
Newport Beach.
That's insanity.
I understand you think that. I feel that way. So I get where those people are coming from. But what they don't get, like I understand why you want to live there. I understand why lots of people want to live there. The weather is great all year round. The beach is right there. It rarely rains. Like it's awesome. That's why so many people wanted to live there and so many people moved there.
So you have to read the tweet of that sparked the
James.
whole.
Yes, James. This is he's saying this is why you would want to live in California over Oklahoma. Probably because you are a safe space, needy liberal that loves tons of restrictions and regulations. And that's totally fine. Just keep that stuff out of Oklahoma. We are just fine. His punctuation's not great. Or you live in Dallas, Texas.
I know.
That's the place everybody's leaving California for to get less regulations. So,
I don't think that they are.
I think certain companies are. I don't know that
There are
just
people.
random
There are people who are
are.
leaving California, but this statement of that's why half the city is moving. It's just like, no,
Well,
it's not. It's not like that at all.
The more obvious reason for a lot of these moves,
It's financial.
right? You get a lot more house in Texas than you get in the Bay Area or in Southern California. I play the Zillow game when I'm out in California for work.
I play the Zillow game everywhere I go.
It's funny. Like you see like a rundown 1,500 square foot shack that costs 5 times as much as your house. And you're like, oh, guess I can't live here.
Yeah, because you can walk out of your house and it's 72 degrees in February and walk to the most beautiful beach in America.
Yeah. See, no. If I could walk to the beautiful beach, it would be like 10 times as much as my house or 15 times as much as my house. But yeah, see, I already live somewhere where it's 72 degrees in February. So that's the difference.
I think that here's the other thing that gets dangerous. You say that you would never want to you'd rather live in Southern California than Norman, and Southern California is a very big place. And like people take that as just downtown LA, and if I
you might want to live in Carlsbad.
Yeah, I would like to live in San Diego. I would like to live
in
Calabasas, Malibu, Newport, Laguna, Huntington, Montecito.
There you go.
Is Santa Barbara Southern California, or where does that belong to?
It feels like it's right kind of on the line. If you're gonna,
it's an hour and a half north from Laguna Beach.
Well, yeah, I would keep that there. I would say it's in Southern California.
And it's just like, is it really that controversial of a statement to say that you would rather live in California than Norman?
I think most people would rather live in the place where the weather's perfect and they're near the beach.
And the problem too is that everything is about politics now. You can't just make a statement like I'm a leftist who needs safe. I don't even know what that tweet means.
Right. Well, I live in Florida, so like if you want to near the beach, politically different than California, like same thing. So we're also near the beach.
I would rather live in Gainesville than Norman. I'd rather live in Miami than Norman. I would rather live in any other city that is close to the beach and is nice every day of the year. And like, here's the thing that I can't stand about Twitter, and the thing that I just need to like let go of is that if you make a statement, then that statement isn't a statement. It is you making fun of another place. I was making fun of the governor for making fun of somebody for leaving Norman for California as if that's some crazy thing to do. And then everybody took that as me taking a dump on Norman as a town. I like Norman. I've been there. It's a great college town. I've covered a game there. It's exactly what you would expect from a powerhouse program. Great place.
James Garner grew up there.
I have no problem
Maverick
with
himself.
Norman, Oklahoma.
Jim Rockford.
I grew up in Phoenix, and I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. I think it's a very beautiful place to grow up. I would rather live in California than Scottsdale. I'd rather live in California than Dallas. I'd rather live in California than Columbus. I'd rather live in California than Gainesville. So am I just like talking crap about everything? I'd just rather live in California than anywhere. Why don't I? Because my fiance has an incredible job in Dallas, and this is a good place to be a college football writer, and we are saving up money to be able to afford living there the right way. It's going to happen eventually.
I can't.
I don't know
wait.
if I'd want to live in Southern California poor.
I really would like to see the Beverly Hillbillies, like you guys just loading up the truck you're gonna buy. You load it up. Is Granny gonna be in the rocker in the bed?
Also, I'm a very not political person, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. I spend zero time watching anything about politics. But isn't Orange County like one of the most Republican counties in the entire country?
I'm probably the second least informed person on this, but yes.
But leftist means Democrat, right?
Usually, yes.
Okay. So I think that people in Orange County are right. And then people in LA
I'm
are
not
left.
sure the average person defending Norman, Oklahoma against all the hippies in California grasps the difference between LA County and Orange County.
Okay.
Or various parts of LA County and Orange County.
Because LA County and Orange County are very different places.
Very different places. So, yes, I understand where you're coming from, but I understand where they're coming from too, because I like my little slice of heaven here, and I wouldn't leave.
Nobody is saying that you can't enjoy where you're from or where you live. Nobody said that. I was making fun of a political figure.
Civic pride is very strong on Twitter. And again, yes, if he just remembered his American literature class in high school, he wouldn't have said that. Who could imagine leaving Oklahoma for Southern California? Well,
we're talking about Lincoln Riley.
Everybody who went through 11th grade and read Grapes of Wrath instead of Mice and Men.
Everybody is talking about this because Lincoln Riley did it.
Yes.
Why would Lincoln Riley have civic pride in Oklahoma? The guy spent 6 years of his entire life in Oklahoma.
Texas.
He's not even from Oklahoma.
He's from Muleshoe, Texas.
Why would the good-looking 38-year-old man who coaches college football rather live in California? I can't imagine why. And everyone's like, yeah, have fun traveling to the dump of South Central LA every day. Yeah, if there's one thing that I'm not worried about, it's Lincoln Riley's living situation. I think he's going to be doing just fine. The guy's probably making $10 million a year. I'm sure he'll figure out a way to make it really nice for himself.
I am truly enjoying the Lincoln Riley villainy, though, because
I do agree with you.
Has Oklahoma gotten madder than any other fan base of recent vintage at a coach leaving for another job?
But I actually sympathize.
Notre Dame fans are not that mad at Brian Kelly for going to LSU.
Like him.
I know
they didn't truly like him. Here's the thing. I actually sympathize with Oklahoma fans. I think if you are a fan who loved their coach and saw Heisman trophies and playoff berths, and somebody who learned from Bob Stoops and took over a great program and keep it going, you feel a connection to that person. And I think it would be hard-pressed to find a coach who did their former program dirtier than Lincoln Riley did. I mean, honestly, he left Oklahoma at a shocking time. Yes. And not only did he leave them, really good players from the Oklahoma program entered the transfer portal as a result of his departure. And then he also took their entire 2023 class, which, by the way, was already going to be a top 10 class no matter what with the 5 kids they already had. So, if you're mad at Lincoln Riley, I get it. And the other thing that I can't stand about what Lincoln Riley is doing is he's not being honest. He is saying things that aren't lies, but he's not being honest. He said, I'm not taking kids from Oklahoma. I'm taking kids from the transfer portal. And that makes sense. That's not a lie. That's true. But you can't say that and completely dismiss the fact that they are in the portal because you left. So they're all connected. So to me, if I agree with you, just turn USC into the U and make everybody hate you, and then have people come play for you who want to be hated, and that's it. So, Oklahoma people, I'm an extended olive branch. I'd rather live in California, and there's nothing that you could ever say that would ever make me change that. That said, I sympathize with your hate of USC. I understand your disdain for Lincoln Riley, and I will also say that I think it's very impressive. Oklahoma writer Jason Kersey and I had a phone discussion about this. Very impressive that he was able to get that class back into the top 10 with what was going on there. So, it's not terrible, but go ahead, hate him. Everybody should hate him. That's kind of every sport needs a good heel, right?
Absolutely. It's good for TV. It's good for the sport. Like we say it's good for the sport if USC is good. It's good for the sport if there's somebody everybody despises.
Also, being a heel is marketable to the certain type of person too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are a lot of players who get pumped up when they go out on the road and get booed. Like that gives them juice. Lincoln Riley needs to lean into that. Find those.
What's more fun than doing a rebuild at a place that has a million advantages, but also everybody hates? It's a dream come true.
It's fantastic. Now, I will say, I think that Oklahoma people long term, now he's got to win. I think they'll like Brent Venables better than Lincoln Riley. I think he will feel more like their kind of person.
Yeah,
provided
probably.
He wins.
Like, what I think is really crazy too, and I think I might have interviewed Lincoln Riley on the phone one time, but Lincoln Riley strikes me as the type of person that just based on the behavior of going from Oklahoma to USC, that he would, if he gets USC in the playoff in a few years, he would be a very marketable NFL head coaching candidate. And he's the type of person, based on his past behavior, that would entertain that. So I think it's entirely possible that Oklahoma is a top 10, top 5 program still in 2029. And USC is back trying to find their next coach because Lincoln Riley's coaching the Minnesota Vikings. And especially in a time in which it's very cool in the NFL to hire young, handsome, bearded men to I mean, it's funny, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like, being handsome helps. So, like,
well, I mean, there's a deeper conversation that Robert Mays and I had last week that, tied into the Brian Flores lawsuit that probably, is a less funny version of what you're saying. But yes, that's exactly right.
No, and some of it's funny and some of it's really serious, and they're having real life discussions about diversity and all those things. And I think those are important. But, like, sometimes I think if Cliff Kingsbury was 275 pounds, would he be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals? Probably
These
not.
guys have a type. And if Sean McVay wasn't so damn handsome, maybe they wouldn't be looking for handsome coaches right now.
That's right.
It's really
like
it's crazy.
Sean McVay being handsome it's like you want the coach that's going to run really fast on the treadmill in the morning and get really sweaty before he goes out and coaches the ball team with those headphones that go behind the ear. Like, that's the type of guy you want. Sitting in their house with all glass window. But you know how much that house costs?
I feel like we're either recruiting Chippendales dancers or football coaches. It's one of the two, but it's the same. We're fishing from the same pond.
It's like something marketable about a young, forward-thinking offensive mind, because it always has to be offensive.
Can't be a defensive guy.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I'll say about Oklahoma.
So what we're saying is there's probably like some 300-pound defensive assistant who's a genius that nobody is even giving the time of day to right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even when Kansas went to the Orange Bowl, what was the joke?
Mangino, exactly. He took Kansas to the Orange Bowl, and everybody's worried about his weight. Yeah.
Wake me up next time they're in a New Year's bowl game, and then we'll talk about Mangino's weight. But Oklahoma is in a very interesting position because Oklahoma, one of the first commitments that Brent Venables got for Oklahoma this year was a top 100 quarterback out of Texas. So I do think that if you have a defensive-minded coach, the way that Venables was or is and was considered one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, who can recruit Texas and still attract top-tier quarterback talent, then Oklahoma, as it pertains to the SEC, might be more equipped to compete in that conference in 4 years based on this change than they would have if they would have stuck with the finesse offensive mind football without the defense to get a stop and to beat Kansas State. So it sucks for Oklahoma right now. I think USC is going to be in the playoff, and I think they're going to be in it fast. But I don't think that long term I would count Oklahoma out of the discussion of being a better program than USC still in 6 or 7, 8 years. Because it won't surprise me if Riley's in the NFL very shortly.
Well, and the other piece of the Oklahoma one is you're going into the SEC and you've hired a coach who's been recruiting against the elite SEC schools for the last 10 years. He understands what they're looking for, what kind of players they're signing, and he's signed players like the ones they're trying to sign. So I think that helps.
I just hope he doesn't bring the Dabo way to Oklahoma because the Dabo way is extinct.
I think he's willing to adapt, and like, you have to. You got to adapt. I mean, that's the whole thing. Speaking of adaptation, I know there's a lot of you out there that are going into the Super Bowl weekend, and you might be a little concerned. You might be going to a Super Bowl party. You might be worried, okay, they're going to be serving wings. What do I do? How do I handle it? I don't want to get my hands dirty. I've got a public service announcement that I've created for you.
I can't wait to hear this.
Hopefully will help you and make your Super Bowl weekend even better. So we're gonna take a break right now. We'll play the PSA and we'll come back and Ari and I will discuss wings and Super Bowl weekend and just exactly how you should be eating them. It's come to my attention that there's a bunch of you out there who are not enjoying your wings as much as you could be. And as we go into Super Bowl Sunday, I want to make sure that you have the best possible experience. So as a public service to you from the Andy Staples Show, I'm going to show you how to make sure you enjoy your wings as much as humanly possible. Now, I know there's some of you out there who say, well, I don't eat wings because I don't like the bones and my hands get all messy. I just order the boneless wings or the tender. Okay, you're ordering off the kids' menu. You are a grown-up, allegedly, ordering off the kids' menu. Stop it. Get wings like an adult. And here's how you need to enjoy them. I was once like you in that I didn't enjoy all of the wing properly. We all know about the drumette. The drumette's really easy to eat. It looks like a drumstick. You know how to eat a drumstick. It's very simple. But when I was in college, I was an intern at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution since 1999. I go to lunch one day with Carlos Frias and Michael Lee. These guys cover high schools for the paper. They went on to huge things. Michael Lee works for us at The Athletic. He covers the NBA. Carlos writes about food for the Miami Herald. Carlos should have known he had a career in food coming because he showed us the way. I said, I like the drums. I almost ordered all drums. We're at the Hooters in 5 Points in Atlanta. And I was going to order all drums. He's like, no. Drums and flats. And I said, why? I don't like the flats. I can't get all the meat off of it. I got to work too hard. He said, no, you need to learn the Wing Twisty. I said, what? He said, the Wing Twisty. The Wing Twisty will change the way you eat wings. You don't need two hands to eat a flat. That's the flat. That's the wing. When the bird flaps, that's what's doing the flapping. You do not need two hands to eat this. You need one hand. And you don't need to do anything weird. I looked for some YouTube videos because I figured somebody has already shown this technique on YouTube. But all the ones I've seen, they're like smashing the wing against the table and then getting the meat off. No. Just grip it right here at the bottom. Put it in your mouth, twist, and you're done. Ready? Watch. That is how you eat a wing. You might have a little spare meat, but you just grab it, eat it. I used my other hand there, sorry. But there, done. Boom. You grab another one. Just put it in your mouth. You get your teeth down a little bit, not all the way. Don't be too firm because then you can't get the bones through. And you just twist and pull. There you go. That's it. Now, you've got a clean hand. You're eating both sides of the wing. You're getting it done. You're an efficient wing eater, and you're enjoying the experience so much more. So just do it. The Wing Twisty. It'll change your life.
You're a national treasure.
If you want to see that, because you probably do need the visual aid, go to our YouTube channel, the Andy Staples Show YouTube channel. By all means, smash that subscribe button. But you can watch that entire PSA, and you can get the finer points of the Wing Twisty, because there is a, you put it in your mouth, and then you gotta hit the twist, and then you pull, and you get the perfect bite.
Which one do you like better, drums or flats now?
Flats, 100%. That it's one of the best bites in food because of you can get that, because you can't strip all the meat off a drum because that cartilage at the top of the joint. So the flat, you can get all of it pretty much. Now, not always you're going to get the perfect pull. You're not going to get every little bit of meat off every single time, but you'll get most of it. And then there's going to be a couple little shards that you can just clean up. But sometimes you will get that perfect pull where you will get all of the meat, skin all at once. And it is one of the best bites in food.
I am a person who usually orders all drums.
We got to fix that.
But I don't dislike flats. I just think it's easier to dunk the side of the.
Is it a blue
better,
cheese or sauce issue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes more sense. But I will say, if you're doing the twisty, dunking is easy too.
It is. Yeah.
In fact, it's a natural motion because you're holding one end of it. So you could dunk that and then grab, pull. I actually like a good dry rub better. I have a salt and vinegar rub at home that I put on wings that it's awesome.
Do you fry them or how do you make them?
I'll make them in the air fryer. I can make them on the grill.
So what's the air fryer technique though? Because I'm going to try to bust out air fryer wings for the Super Bowl. We're having some people over and I want to try it.
I can't remember the exact numbers. It's like 390. I want to say it's something like 10 minutes per side, maybe 11 minutes per side. Look it up on the internet. Don't take
but
my
what do you
word
do
for it,
for the prep part?
Very little. You just, if you want to do a rub, you put your rub on there. You can do salt, or you can just do salt, pepper, and maybe just a touch of olive oil. You don't need to do much. It's going to make the skin crispy no matter what, the way you're cooking it.
Yeah, I'm going to try that.
Now, they don't reheat well. The air fryer ones do not reheat well, but they are spectacular fresh out of the air fryer. They're really good.
Well, there's going to be no leftovers, so it's a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I am a huge wing person. Although I will say wings are really expensive right now. So I don't know that we'll be having wings on Super Bowl Sunday. We may actually be having drumsticks because wings right now at my grocery store are $4.99 or $5.99 a pound, depending on the brand. Drumsticks are $1.99 a pound. And those do give you nice bites, because the drumette is a very small thing and there is a lot of work to be done. Like a big old drumstick, you just start eating.
I'll go into debt for the right food at my Super Bowl party. I don't care if it's $12 a pound.
What is your preferred dip? Is it salsa? Is it
with wing?
Spinach artichoke? No. I'm talking about for chips. Salsa, spinach artichoke, buffalo chicken. What's your?
I think spinach artichoke's the best dip for a chip. But I also am a very big Fritos into bean dip guy.
Oh yeah, well, especially living in Texas
can that
now.
they sell in the.
Oh yeah,
I don't ever buy that, but whenever I have it, it's really good.
Well, and there's if folks are in the grocery store and your store may or may not carry this, like where I live, certain stores have it and some don't. Desert Pepper Trading Company black bean dip, get that, and you could put Fritos in it. You could put just plain tortilla chips, Tostitos, whatever. Put that in it. Is a spicy black bean dip. It is awesome.
One time I went to a Super Bowl party and it was my cousin's house. Mm-hmm. And there were about 20 people there. And we made a list and everybody it was a potluck kind of. Mm-hmm. And everybody had to go get this one thing. So like my assignment was Krispy Kreme donuts. I had to go get Krispy Kreme donuts.
Very nice.
One person had to go get Pizza Hut.
This is like a Super Bowl party scavenger hunt. I love it.
Yes, but one person had to go get Big Macs. One person had to go get chicken nuggets from Wendy's. And at the end of the road, it was a smorgasbord. It was like Heavyweights, the movie Heavyweights. Have you seen that recently?
Yes, not recently.
It was like somebody had to get a 12-inch sub and cut it up, a bunch of subs. And somebody had to go get all the chips and somebody had to get all the dips. And like at the end of the road, it was like you could have a Big Mac, a slice of stuffed crust pizza, chicken nuggets, and a Krispy Kreme donut on the same plate. And it was by far
a brilliant
the best
idea.
Super Bowl I've ever been to.
It's a great idea because one, you're spreading out the cost of feeding everybody. Two, it would be very hard for the host to go to all those places
Right.
and have it in a way that you could serve it right. Because like the Big Mac kind of needs to come from McDonald's pretty recently.
Mhm.
Ditto for your Pizza Hut pizza and all those. Now that one you can get delivered. I guess now you could have delivery companies do it, but back when you did it, this was probably, I'm assuming, pre DoorDash and
Pre-Uber Eats, yes.
yeah. So that's just brilliant. And the whole potluck thing's cool because people kind of take ownership. Oh, I brought this and I brought this. So
And I'm a big variety person.
yeah. I'm stealing that idea. We might be doing that for 4th of July.
And it was by far the worst meal I've ever had for like me in terms of
in terms of health. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure.
It was one of the best meals I've ever eaten. But like, have you ever known the joy of taking a big bite out of a Big Mac and then your next bite is the back of a stuffed crust pizza?
That is pretty spectacular. Mixing burgers and pizza is
and like it was like funny too because we had a
bunch
of French fries, and then we had like a bunch of popcorn bowls filled with McDonald's French fries.
And again, something that needs to come straight
it was all recent,
out of the fryer and right to you. Yeah.
So I think we were all in food comas by the middle of the first quarter.
Oh yeah, that's one of those that you are going to overeat. You're going to overdo it because how can you not if there's a pile of McDonald's fries and a pile of Pizza Hut pizza and a pile of Krispy Kreme donuts, you're going to want some of all of it.
One of them was Taco Bell tacos. It was honestly, I can't remember everything that we had.
Doritos Locos tacos.
We had a bunch. It was just like basically if you saw the Donald Trump Super Bowl celebration. I don't remember what team it was, but he had all the fast food laid out. Have you seen that picture? Obviously,
yes.
Holding it was like that.
I would have no pride because I remember everybody complaining about that. I was like, I would eat.
I was like, I would love that. Did you see the corner of the picture where there was a bunch of Filet-O-Fishes stacked up? Come on, man.
Well, of course. So yeah, that is a great idea. So if you haven't already decided on the menu for your Super Bowl party, just steal Ari's friend's idea because that is fantastic.
Yeah.
But if you get wings, just remember Wing Twisty because people are going to leave the flats for you. There are people who are not, they're cowards and they're going to eat the drumettes and you're going to have a big pile of flats there and you can just go to town. And also people are going to come and be like, how are you doing that? And you'd be like, I know a guy.
The way I would eat flats before I saw your trick there was I would take the smaller of the two bones and I would rip that off first.
Right. Pull that off. There are a lot of people who will do the twist in their hands and pull the bones out. But the key to the reason you do it this way is so you only have to use the one hand if necessary.
Yeah, you're using your teeth as the vessel.
Exactly. So, and look, I realize that some people think it looks a little Cro-Magnon. I don't care.
Yeah, usually when you're eating wings, it's not like you're at Mastro's. Like
you're
live.
You're already eating with your hands.
Yeah,
so
it's already all over the place. Just live your life.
You have crossed the Rubicon. Ari, it's been a pleasure. Let's say we come talk after the Super Bowl.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Hopefully I will have had
some
wings.
I can't promise you that I'm not going to be, that my breathalyzer is going to be 0.0, but I'll do my best to keep it together for you.
Well, that'll make the show even better. We'll talk to you later.